Tonight, some key directors and management staff of UTN Capital Banks being prosecuted for various criminal offences for their complicity in the collapse of banks and financial institutions.
The dockets are there, and Attorney General is doing everything possible, including giving fiat to our lawyers at Yoko so that they can provide the backing to the office of the DPP to start the prosecution.
We'll bring you details as Yoko confiscates landed properties of Capital Bank in Dansoman and Cantonment. Also, economist urges government to re-engineer its way to the international capital market as he warns an IMF program is not enough to deal with Ghana's economic crisis. But will the Monetary Policy Committee of the Bank of Ghana pull a wand to stem the tide? We'll have details. The governing party's quest to break the 8-year political cycle faces a test as internal factions begin to show up strongly in clear violation of the regulations. The NPP has dragged Tafo Pankrono MP and Hopes Nadoye to the party's National Complaints Committee.
The big men who are in front of him have had a chance. We ought to also give him a chance. I have faith in him. He understands the economy. He can deliver.
Hello again, thanks for choosing us. The National Steering Committee of the New Patriotic Party has instructed General Secretary of the governing party to issue a letter to the Trade and Industry Ministry or Minister Alan Tremantin to rein in his supporters. A group of party foot soldiers last weekend staged a health walk dubbed Edruoso in a bid to endorse the government appointee to run the presidential race.
Martin is coming like articulated track. How can any human being stand the way of an articulated track? If you don't stand well, what is it? 2008, we were boys. Yes. Now boys are men. And there was a year. No one is perfect. Baby, I'm no more the person of Alan Tremantin, the Kufuor-like person. What is here? No more say Kufuor government, Now
Alan has proved beyond any doubt that he cannot rule this country. So it's a stand. Let's give him a chance for him to deliver what he has for this country.
If a man keeps telling you he has something to give you, give him a chance for him to also contribute. Since 2007, as you know, he's been trying to be president. He hasn't succeeded. So I think now that the big men who are in front of him have had a chance, we ought to also give him a chance. I have faith in him. He understands the economy. He can deliver.
Meanwhile, the National Steering Committee of the NPP says it has noted the worrying trend of active campaigns for persons seeking to run for office, adding that some drastic steps will be taken. For now, two party stalwarts, the Tafo Pankrono MP Vincent Ekoasifo and Hopes Nadoye, have both been referred to the party's National Complaints Committee. In the meantime, we're learning a meeting will be scheduled among persons seeking to contest the presidential primaries of the NPP. We'll speak shortly to the party leadership on the way forward. But first, my colleague Kweku Asante joins me via Zoom with details of a statement issued by the party. First, Kweku, tell us, what are the comments made by Tafo Pankrono MP Vincent Ekoasifo that has landed him into trouble?
So, with respect to Honorable Vincent Ekoasifo, he spoke to Kumasi University, where he said that the New Patriotic Party should give the chance to Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia to lead it going into the 2024 election, because according to him, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia had done a lot for the party, had done a lot in terms of the 2012 election petition in particular, and has served as the inspiration for the youth and should be given the opportunity to lead the party. He went on to say that when it came to his constituency, that Tafo Pankrono, he used the term, he said, no bagger wire, and that it's Dr. Bawumia or no one else.
What about Hopes Nadoye? What exactly did he say?
So in that insert you played of that walk that was organized by some pro-Alan Tremantin group in the Ashanti region a few weeks back, Hopes Nadoye mounted a platform and said that given the factions that exist within the NPP, the Buzia, the Danko, and the Dombo, it is time for Alan Tremantin, who he said belong to the Buzia faction of the New Patriotic Party to be the leader of the party. And when it comes to the Dombo faction, which is said to be represented now by Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, they will definitely get the spot because Alan Chematin will pick a person from the northern region or a Muslim to pair for the 2024 elections. And these comments have put him in trouble now. The party said to refer him to the committee.
And the party has a raft of measures to deal with this issue. Run them by us. So
the party says that these comments that I've just told you about breach the party's code of conduct that is set out ahead of that flag bearership race. It says that subsequently, the steering committee has resolved that Honorable Vincent Ekowasafo and Mr. Hobson Adoye be invited to appear before the National Complaints Committee as provided for in the party's code of conduct. Additionally, under the instructions of the National Steering Committee, Mr. Alan Chematin has been written to in respect of the Druoso Health Walk, which was organized in his name. And the party is saying that it is going to invite all persons that have indicated their interest to run for the party's presidential primary so that they can meet and agree on the modalities ahead of the election.
Good, thank you very much. Meanwhile, organizers of the Druoso Walk in the Ashanti region that has drawn the anger of the party say they are not perturbed about the criticism they are faced with. According to a leading member of the group, Emmanuel Osejimfi, it is rather the supporters of the Vice President, Dr. Bawumia, who are flouting the rules set by the party.
Matter of fact, if you want those who are trying to make things difficult for the ruling NPP, it is rather those from the other side. And there are lots of evidence to that effect. You are in this country and you know the number of high-profile individuals, ministers, National Executive Committee members. The list can go on. Matthew Opoku Pempe, Minister of Energy, we all saw him on Peace FM making declarations publicly for and in support of the Vice President. Honorable Sayo Education Minister is doing same. Aziz Haruna Futa, the shocking of all, National Nasarawa Coordinator, who sits at national executive meetings, knows what is going there. He was there because he was a former executive member of the National Executive Committee. On 27 July 2021, when the former General Secretary John Boadu issued a statement, he was in that meeting. So he was privy to that directive. Yet he could stand on a national platform and make a public declaration that the incoming president after Nanado is a Muslim. Not him alone, Honorable Ayu of Asokore, how do you call it? Nana Obi Bwahin, former Deputy Secretary Freddie Blade, former National Chairman Ken Oforiatta, Finance Minister Hussein Noruddin, Northeast Regional Chairman Anodom Pre, Atachia, Samuel Atachia, Musa Superior, Nana B, Henry Nana Bwache, another national organizer mentioned here. So, sincerely speaking, which of these two sides is trying to make things difficult for the party? In 2021, right after 2020 elections, they started this campaign, and you are in this country, you heard everything loud and clear. So if you want to know anybody or the one who is making things difficult for this party, it is them. And I was shocked. Upon seeing the release, I was shocked. I was super shocked.
Well, the Minister of Trade and Industry has been speaking to the event of last weekend, stating that he has worked tirelessly for the peace of the NPP as well as its unity. Let me bring you an excerpt of that statement released in the last hour. It says, my attention has been drawn to disturbing headlines and discussions in the media in respect of comments made by Mr. Hobson Adoye after a peaceful health walk organized by individuals from all walks of life, in particular sympathizers of our great party NPP in the city of Kumasi on 13th August 2022. I understand with great concern that the unintended consequences of these comments have generated strong reactions from different sections of the Ghanaian public, with the potential of creating divisions within the rank and file of our party at a crucial time in its history. It continues by saying that the new patriotic party has always stood for unity, peace and progress for every Ghanaian. Without a doubt, these are the very same virtues that I have worked tirelessly to uphold in many years of service to Ghana and to the NPP. It is a fact that the peaceful health walk was independently organized and joined by thousands of well-meaning Ghanaians citizens across Kumasi to express their passion for the NPP, in addition to their genuine support for what I have come to represent in the party through years of dedicated service. Much as I do appreciate this show of support, I would like to strongly caution against any acts or omissions of individuals or groups of individuals that may disturb the peace and harmony in our party. It's important that we all fight for what seems to be emerging as a dangerous trend in our party, in our body politics in Ghana, of using misinformation, propaganda, and instigating disunity along ethnic, religious, and political lines. I passionately believe that it is impossible or inappropriate to diminish or distort the fundamental contributions and stature of any of the founding fathers of the NPP tradition, and I encourage party faithfuls to focus on the indisputable fact. Indeed, it is the dedicated service of all the celebrated as well as unsung heroes of the great party that has and continue to give life to the NPP till this day. So some key directors and management of staff of UT and Capital Banks are being prosecuted for various criminal offences for their complicity in the collapse of the banks and financial institutions. The accused persons are currently being cross-examined by prosecutors. This was contained in the latest reports of the Bank of Ghana and the ECO investigations into the criminal actions of these individuals leading to the collapse of banks and special deposit-taking institutions. We'll have details of this report shortly, but first, take a listen to the Executive Director of ECO, COP Mameti Wadu Dankwa.
The dockets are there, and Attorney General is doing everything possible, including giving fiat to our lawyers at Yoko so that they can provide the backing to the office of the DPP to start the prosecution. Again, he's also going to provide training, tailor-made training for our officers, because that area of investigation and prosecution is a bit different from the normal prosecution that we do. So, Mr. Governor, I can assure you that this amount that you're going to give to us will not go wasted.
Now, Governor of the Central Bank, Dr. Ernest Addison, says they have advanced some 10 million cedis to EOCO in the regulation of the sector.
The EOCO has investigated and forwarded 11 dockets to the Attorney General's office. This has been done more than a year ago. And I'm saying so just to put pressure on the Attorney General's department. These dockets have been referred to them more than a year ago. Pursuant to Section 19 of the EOCO Organized Crime Act. Notwithstanding all these achievements, there is a lot of work still waiting to be done with respect to tracing of assets, to build concrete investigation, to lead to the effective prosecution of the perpetrators of these financial crimes.
Blessed Suga joins me via Zoom with details of the report, which has indicted certain individuals. Blessed, give us details of the work so far done by Yoko and the joint receivers.
Well, Ernest, so what we do know is that a number of these transactions were referred to the Attorney General's Department by the Economic and Organized Crime Office, Yoko, for criminal prosecution. Now, some of the directors and also key staff and management of the UT as well as Capital Banks were charged by the state for various criminal offenses, and Yoko also assisted the joint receivers to take control of the landed properties of Capital Bank in Dansoman and also in parts of Cantonment.
And Blessed, where are we on the status of the investigations?
Well, for now, we do know that the joint receivers were key prosecution witnesses for the state in the ongoing criminal proceedings in court. And the joint receivers, as we do understand, have been cross-examined by the counsel for the defendants between 2020 and 2022. The status of the two cases as at August 2022 is that the accused persons in the Capital Bank case are currently being cross-examined by the state. With the UT Bank matter, we do know that the prosecution witness are also currently being cross-examined by the defendants or counsel as well.
And is it clear to us what the next steps will be in this report?
It appears that for now the focal point is around the joint receivers, so they will continue to assess the prosecution team in the ongoing case. A representation for Yoko will be cross-examined, as we do understand, as a prosecution witness following their investigations as well of UT and Capital Bank. The joint receivers will also provide further and additional documents, as we understand, to prosecution to aid the ongoing investigations.
Breaks it down. It goes further to look at the institutions. There are about 347 microfinance companies and 23 savings and loans companies that collapsed. What more do we know about some of these institutions?
I think for now, the report says documents on about 13 of these microfinance and financial houses have been prepared for now. The dockets have also been forwarded to the Attorney General for advice and prosecution. For now, Yoko has been following up with the Attorney General and some other agencies, and will in the coming days will be receiving some reports from prosecution witnesses in order to continue with the case.
Blessed, thank you very much for bringing us those details. Now, news just in, the monetary policy rate has been increased by 300 basis points. Business News editor George Rafe joins me in the studio with details. And George, this meeting was being watched closely. Investors, the international wires were monitoring because of what this will mean for the Ghanaian economy. Some economists thought that the Bank of Ghana was going to maintain the rate, given that, I mean, the economy is stretched and it's seeking to contract it. But now we are seeing a review upward. Yeah. Give us the details.
So what we are trying to just to get a little bit of understanding is that the Bank of Ghana believes that there is still a supply issue, that is some kind of excess cedi in circulation that is causing this problem. So that could be the reason why we're seeing some of these things that are happening. And before it came to that conclusion, it tried to explain to us some of the things that has happened over the past month and what is being done on the fiscal side, and how this would actually help with what is happening right now in the economy. So if you go through the statement that they actually issued, they actually tried to explain to us why they had to reach this decision by increasing it by this 300 basis points to actually 22%. So what they are trying to do is that they are trying to still compensate persons who have invested in our bonds, who are worried that inflation rate is eating up their real returns. Yeah. And this also could try and suck some excess money in circulation as well. When you also go through the statement as well, in terms of the primary reserves, in terms of how much a commercial bank can hold with the Bank of Ghana, there's a timetable where it will be increased gradually to almost from 13 to 14% to 15%. It looks like the Bank of Ghana has some data that is suggesting that there is some excess currency in circulation, and therefore they would want to use this monetary tool to suck it, because we actually picked up information recently that there are more persons who are taking more Ghana cedis to go and buy dollars, and it tells you that there is still excess liquidity in the system, and that is why they believe that they can use this tool, by the monetary tool and the primary reserves that they can use to try and check this problem. And so let's look at just one bit of a point 8 in the statement that they've released from the Bank of Ghana. It says that under these current circumstances and considering the risk to inflation outlook, don't forget that recently we saw utility tariffs going up. Yeah. So even though they had projected that inflation was slowing down, this was not expected. And therefore that slowdown might not happen. And that is why they are saying that looking at all the risk to inflation, and the committee decided to, on a 300 basis point for the monetary policy to 22% from 19%. If you go back to the point 7, Kojo, it talks about whilst addressing the immediate financing problem and the ongoing policy discussions with the IMF is expected to address the underlying macro challenges and restore fiscal and debt sustainability and provide sustainable balance of payment. So the Bank of Ghana also admits that the problem facing the economy is not just a monetary issue. It's
a fiscal aspect as well.
And therefore, they've actually outlined what is being done on the fiscal angle and what actually the monetary angle also has to do to address this thing. Now we come to the bit about, sorry, just want to make a point, yeah.
And there are some economists who have suggested that enough of the monetary measures, let's look at the fiscal side, because they believe that is what we need to pay attention to. We have seen the situation where the BOG, of course, you mentioned the point about inflation. The Statistical Service had indicated that with the hike in utility tariffs and water,
the trend.
It will affect inflation.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting that the BOG takes cognizance of this fact in its decision.
And Kojo, yes, we all admit that it might be a fiscal issue, but it looks like data that the Bank of Ghana, they have picked up, suggests that there is still some level of liquidity in the system. Because why would people won't go to the bank and withdraw their CD accounts and go and use to buy dollars? It means that something has to be done to deal with that. So this policy hike, together with other fiscal issues, would address the problem. Again, let's go to another thing the Bank of Ghana is trying to do when it comes to those monetary or primary reserves. And in the statement, if you go through, it gives a calendar of how they are gradually, and that if you go back to the point at the top earlier on, it says that it gives that the committee also took the following additional measures. A, to raise the primary reserve requirements of banks from 12 to 15%.
And that's significant, George, because it was around 10. It was dropped to 8 during COVID, brought back now to 12, and now we are seeing 15.
Yeah, so
that is quite significant.
And let's run through the timetable according to what the Bank of Ghana is saying, that they'll raise this primary requirement for banks from 12 to 15% to be implemented in phases. Now, 13% from 1st of September 2022, 14% from 1st of October, and 15% from 1st of November. And this is every money that the banks collect. There's a percentage you need to hold at the Bank of Ghana.
Yeah.
So it looks like the Bank of Ghana is using all the tools available at its disposal to try and mop up what they have seen as excess liquidity in the system. And this might deal with the demand side of inflation, whilst they also look at the fiscal side to deal with the supply side of inflation as well. A lot of people have been talking about the Ghana city. Now let's go to the point 10 and let's see what the Bank of Ghana says they are trying to do to boost dollars available. It says that to boost the supply of foreign exchange to the economy, the Bank of Ghana is working collectively or with the mining firms, international oil companies, and their bankers to purchase all their foreign exchange arising from the voluntary repatriation of the export proceeds from mining, from the oil and gas companies, and this will strengthen the Bank of Ghana's reserves. And these multinationals, they make a lot of money from what they sell, all those things. Now, the Bank of Ghana is now asking that give us that first right. Before you actually send that money to your shareholders, we want to take that and maybe give you a steady return.
And especially as we head into the last quarter, I think this is very crucial for the multinational, for the economy of the country, given what they take away from
Kojo, don't forget that one critical thing that we're also dealing with is investor confidence. Yeah. So the fact that the signals this will send to the investors is that on the monetary side, everything is being done to hold the economy together. So for those who were rushing, those who were worried about the uncertainty and all the rest, they might be a little bit take it easy. They might not now be rushing to take their monies out, because they've seen that some drastic measures are being taken to check the situation. They didn't come out to announce that don't open dollar accounts and all this, because that might be counterproductive. So what this will also do will be also to deal with the confidence issue that has seen a lot of dollars getting out of the country. We also hear that some people are taking their dollars and investing in bonds outside the country because they are not clear about the outlook. So this might also help deal with the confidence issue that you and I have been talking about that has brought us to the States.
Well, let's see how the investors respond to this and how the international market also responds to this. Professor Godfred Bokpin, for instance, has said that whilst we are waiting for the IMF, which he thinks is not the ultimate solution in addressing some of these issues, we should try and re-engineer our way into the international capital market. Would that be something that government, and not the BOG, but the finance ministry, for instance,
the finance minister
will be
in a
working
recent
on?
interview spoke about that. So it's not just about the money that you're going to get from the IMF. It's about the signal again that you tell people that there's a bigger brother in place to check you, so we don't see things depleting. Now, what this fund program will give us is that for the next 3 years, we're going to get $3 billion for balance of payment support that is going directly to the Bank of Ghana, not government. So any investor that is dealing with you, that is buying your bonds, is assured that for the next 3 years, the Bank of Ghana will have cover to finance imports. And if he wants to get out of the market, the Bank of Ghana will have dollars to give to him. So that brings some assurance. We're also hearing that the World Bank might give us about 3 to 4 billion. That will go directly to the budget project. So that is what a fund program is going to do for us. Not necessarily the money, but the fact that there's a big brother in to check you, to put you on track, and be disciplined with your finances, Kojo.
Essentially, confidence restoration. George, thank you very much for bringing us those details there. So if you're just joining us, the monetary policy rate has been increased by 300 basis points. This is Joy News Prime. Let's do some other stories now. A district court in the United States of America has turned down a request to compel the University of Ghana to pay ACA, American Insurance Company, an amount of $165 million. This is judgment debt the school was to pay the company for allegedly breaching its obligation under the construction project. The project is a public-private partnership agreement between the University of Ghana and the company entered into with CPA Ghana in 2015. The university was required to release land and grant a concession to CPA to finance, construct, operate, and maintain various new infrastructure projects on the campus. My colleague Joseph Akable has seen details of this judgment, and he joins me via Zoom with details. Joseph, first of all, give us some context to this, and then go ahead with the details of the judgment.
And so this project has been in the news for some time now. You recall it has been variously tagged as the African Integras project. It's a project that was supposed to see some key infrastructure, including various colleges of education infrastructure constructed, as well as also see the construction of some residential facilities at the University of Ghana. It's a financing model that the university opted for to address its infrastructure deficits. But the challenge that we saw occur once there was a change in administration was to the effect that the project contractor, in this particular instance, CPA, made the allegation that the University of Ghana had failed to perform its obligation under the contract. And so it opted to drag the University of Ghana to arbitration and later on exercised its right to terminate the agreement and proceeded to indicate that they wanted an expert to do a valuation of the termination value to determine how much judgment debts the University of Ghana was supposed to pay the company, CPA. And so it was put at the amount of $165 million. Now, CPA assigned its rights under the agreement to ACE, American Insurance Company, simply telling the company that this individual owes me $165 million in judgment debt. Take action against the individual to recover the amount. And so ACE, American Insurance Company, commenced the action against the University of Ghana at the District Court in the United States of America. Now, the University of Ghana, through its lawyers, entered an appearance and raised an initial objection on purely two technical grounds. And the first was to the effect that under the agreement that they had with CPA, which the ACE insurance company was trying to enforce, it required that in the event there was any arbitration, that arbitration should take place at a court in London. And that is only in the event that due to unforeseen circumstances, it cannot take place in London, that it can take place elsewhere. And this is an objection that the court upheld and said that indeed the agreement was unambiguous and it indicated in clear terms that any such action should take place in the United Kingdom and London to be specific. And so that initial objection was upheld. The second objection, which stemmed from the argument that had been advanced by ACE Insurance Company, was to the effect that the University of Ghana was a state entity, and that meant that it acquired an international status of sorts, which meant that it was not covered under the claim that it has to be limited to that particular specific arbitration location, being London in the United Kingdom. Okay. And that was the argument that ACE Insurance Company advanced, but the courts rejected that and rather upheld the arguments of the University of Ghana that the company, that is the University of Ghana as an entity, cannot be said to be, quote, the alter ego of the government of Ghana, such that it falls within that of an international entity within the international trading space that could have any action emanating or taking place in different courts to enforce it. And so in simple terms, it's good news for the University of Ghana community in that had this action succeeded, the University of Ghana would have been required to cough up immediately the amount of $165 million. And so this means that there's perhaps the option of it pursuing the angle of negotiating under an arbitration agreement with the company to possibly beat down this judgment debt amount and find a way out of it instead of being forced to cough out the amount of $165 million, Ernest.
Joseph, thank you very much. And you can read the details of the judgment on mindjoyonline.com. This is Joy News Prime with me, Ernest Kojo. We're taking a break. When we return, we'll bring you more stories plus showbiz. Don't go away. Thanks for staying with us here on Joy News Prime. The Ahanta Traditional Council is slamming Special Prosecutor Kise Jabin for his latest report, which indicted owner of the LaBianca Company Limited, Eunice Jacqueline Boa Asumahene, for engaging in influence peddling to reduce her tax obligations at the port. The report led to the refunding of a little over $1 million cedis to the state. The Traditional Council says the Special Prosecutor's report forms part of an attempt to denigrate the hard-earned reputation of the CEO of LaBianca Company, who is also a representative of the Western region on the Council of State.
Being worrisome and devastating is that despite the open denial by the Commissioner of Customs, Colonel Damoa, against any influence perpetrated by Honorable on him for the import waiver, several media accounts continue to peddle one-side story. We are therefore using this medium to appeal to the President of the Republic of Ghana, His Excellency Nana Addo Akufo-Addo, to help stem the tide in this issue, which has the potential to destroy a genuine Ghanaian business and a very productive and astute woman. We view this report as unhealthy for the promotion of investment by Ghanaians and also on women entrepreneurship. Unfortunate attack on a member of the Council of State is a threat to business investment from the private sector and on employment. There are other companies who are benefiting from around 12% tax rebate. So why this attack on LaBianca Company? We call on the Special Prosecutor as a matter of urgency to retract the statement on influence theory and on our member of the Council of State as state is wholly inappropriate.
For Joy News, in Athalia Kwanza, Western Region.
This is the fourth time a group is criticizing the Office of Special Prosecutor's report and backing LaBianca Group of companies. Meanwhile, a report by policy think tank Imani Africa has revealed pervasive corruption at Ghana's ports, which is bleeding the country dry. According to the report, politically exposed persons are using their political connections to fleece the state in taxes and other payments at the port. Dennis Osari is research consultant at Imani Africa.
In that there's some sort of corruption, insider manipulation and criminality happening within the Tema port. And in fact, the Africa Union assessment in 2020 and 2019 points that the Tema port was becoming sort of a transit hub for organized crime or, let me say, broadly criminal activities within international maritime trade. So what we needed to understand was that what are the underlying drivers, irrespective of the different systems of operation. So the report that we did, we considered a whole historical analysis of the changes in both institution, technology, infrastructure systems, as well as even the political settlement or even across different governance arrangements, so that we're able to understand where the problem is, what are the political economy factors driving criminality or driving corruption within the port. So it's not specific to a particular time period, but it gives us an understanding of where we are coming from, factors that has driven corruption over the years within this current dispensation in terms of infrastructure improvement, technological improvement, even changes in our governance system or broader port administration system. What are the underlying factors that are driving corruption?
Yeah, and I'm sure that you are looking retrospect.
Yes.
I'm talking about that timeline because that will give a comparative study as to whether or not we're improving in the first place, and if indeed there are some more areas that we need to work on?
Definitely. So if you look at, in terms of institutional architecture, despite the improvement in the systems, in terms of technology and even infrastructure, you see that the underlying governance system has not changed very much over the years. So you see excessive influence of the executive arm of government over decision making in the various institutions that manage our port, i.e. the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, Ghana Revenue Authority, the Customs Division, and all other state agencies that work within the port. And when that happens, what we realize is that in terms of critical decision making, like even advanced ruling.
To our Clean Ghana campaign now, sanitation officials have arrested one person and secured a bench warrant for two others in the Agbobloshi market for operating a milling shop under unhygienic conditions. According to the Accra Metropolitan Assembly, the three persons failed to honor a court summons and have been evading the sanitation officials. Michael Ashale has more in this report.
A chain of spice mills here in the heart of Agbobloshi.
We are here to enforce food safety and hygiene bylaws of the AMA.
The shops are vibrantly grinding raw food to powder or paste. They work round the clock to meet the demands of their customers, but not under sanitary conditions.
Now you realize that specifically to the grinding mills, you realize that most of the source of the food that we eat comes from the milling machine. This is the starting point. There should be sealing, and the place should be very protected from dust, from flies, and whatever. But this is an open place. You can see the cobwebs, you can see dresses all over, even the machine itself.
George Lawson is a district environmental health officer with the Accra Metropolitan Assembly.
The pepper that is coming from here is not safe. We are going to close this place down, issue notice to them to put the place in order within a specific period of time. Now, if they fail to comply with that directive, we will issue court summons to them and take them to court for prosecution. It has not been washed. They will only grind it just like that. But ideally, it should be washed before they grind. Some of them, they even use rotten tomatoes. So rotten tomatoes to prepare food. Is the food safe? The food is already contaminated. You see, there's no water here. You cannot see any water here.
But there's no intention to wash them?
Yeah, I can't see any water here. So if you are not here, they will just grind it like that.
This is not the first time the AMA has been here. This time, they have a bench warrant for 3 of the mill operators who failed to honor a court summons.
So these are the bench warrants?
Yeah.
For how many people?
We are for 3 people for now. For 3 people, but we have apprehended only Mohammed for now. We have apprehended Mohammed. These are the bench warrants.
So Mohammed is who you took away earlier?
Very well. So we are now to go for Yao and one other, and then also for Abdullah. These are the various bench warrants that we have at hand.
From Agbobloshi, we now take you to the Apiate community 6 months after the explosion, which shook the whole of the country, to find out the progress of work on the construction of the Apiate community. And we'll speak to some of the victims who suffered severe degrees of injury and might live the rest of their lives with physical and emotional trauma. Correspondent Natalia Kwanzaa reports.
This is the Apiate community, where the whole community was brought to ground zero earlier this year due to an explosion. Joy News has visited the community to find out the progress of work. Roads construction is ongoing, and also there has been pillars mounted by the surveyors to find out the actual size of the land.
Meanwhile, some residents have expressed worry and dissatisfaction on the size of building yet to be constructed. They say, per the profiling on the ground, the building when constructed will not be spacious enough to accommodate their families.
And you can see it's about 3 meters and 3.5 meters, which is exactly 10 feet by 10. Now, when you look at it properly, there are some wardrobes in it. So the reduction, it will be a reduction form of what? 8 by 10. When you subtract the wardrobe from it, you can't have your bed inside this room. because the size is very small. Yeah, Danny, the na blog womb there, by measurement and will be crowded at 13 by 13, will be there 14 by 15. And the Moyama area, Cassie and Yeniso. And on what done the pictures in Bachelor and Yebusai, some of my down the size. Mr. Gevi, your car, see a befriend swabber by befriend swabber up to date. You won't hear. You profile.
By the Municipal Chief Executive Officer of the area, Dr. Isaac Dasmani, says it only takes a technical eye to ascertain the size of the building.
Building is like that you don't have, if you don't have the technical eye, you understand, you may finish a foundation, you may think that is small, but then once they finish laying the blocks, then you may have the actual size of the room, because room sizes varies. It varies. Some are 11 by 11, some are 12 by 12. You know, sometimes when you are building your room, we have standard rooms that they do. And somebody can even decide when you are building your own house to make it 15 by 15 or 12. You don't have a specific standard. But then the room size sometimes can even be 10 by 10, some are 10 by 11. I mean, some are 12 by 12, some are 12 by 11 and all of that. So once you see those things on the ground, I mean, you might not even conclude. Unless they finish laying the blocks that you will know the actual size of the room. And all those rooms, that all the whole places were attached houses. And so I'm sure every rooms that we are going to create for them is even bigger than what they used to live in. So with some other facilities in addition to that. So I don't think that one day they should be patient.
From the Apiate community, we went to the Apiate Relief Camp, which is just about 10 minutes drive from the redevelopment site. The affected victims have been moved into temporary accommodation provided by the Future Global Resources following the destruction of the tents which housed them initially by a torrential rainfall. Some people were captured on camera busily going about their activities while some were enjoying a movie at the entertainment center. Dairo Kwashi, Public Relations Officer of the Apiate Disaster Relief Committee, says the assistance needed by the victim goes beyond food and other relief items.
The people themselves also need money, because if I give you rice, oil, tin fish and the likes, what becomes of fish and the rest? You can't always eat rice, so they need money. Not money as in any heavy amount, but some stipends per household wouldn't be bad. I know the system is hot. You see that thing? Yeah. Yes, but let's try to do something for the people as well.
Some victims who were affected severely speak on the physical and emotional trauma they experience each day.
Metumi je makanka ba stra da so eyamia nti dade no kwaka na dade no ebi hye menan no ashe awana woni dey awamena bienkume but nyimfa no asem ni sinde ma ha mekotodwe na onyemenan na osi efom no na ahabue na sokotodwe no suboyi nti wana awoje epiroduru no na wayeden waya na wachire ya manne kroche na okutame no metumina mdi so stra manane de bebi obubu ni de oyame ya sisia na sisia ampo wode duru achir
abachewe no mensunu na omo yiapi a toilet no eden toilet ni fam ebasa mensunu no te tuji ndi ebato me yiwe na mtum ko toilet no mu yimi sunu pie say on 13 fema anti 13 na msunu mede e ba we nsa na tule bia nsa msunu bubo me ma no nso ede e san ko back say tule bi nso na san kese ti sanete e tule tene ba no mi biewe na mede ni mayi ba ba for this time mi yiwe ni feel was answer the from me gas and dress it for Friday e boho.
For Joy News in Athalia Kwanza Apiate.
So, many thanks for your company. Log on to myjournline.com. You find more stories there. We'll be standing by with the business. Don't go away.